The hunt for the perfect storm has been a fan favorite topic for decades, and with the X-Men making their MCU debut in the near future, the issue has been reignited like never before. So I made a list of 20 actresses, models, and performers who Storm fans have wanted to see in the role. The main factors I'm looking at here are current age, appearance, and acting chops. I'm also throwing in height just for good measure, no pun intended. She is 5'11" in the comics after all. And I do think having a taller woman playing Storm would be dope, but there are some women on this list who I still think would kill it as Storm despite not making the height cut. And last but not least, make sure you let me know who your top pick is down in the comments. We're gonna start off with what I'm calling legacy picks, aka choices that the fandom has had for several decades who are unfortunately too old to play the role at this point, but we're gonna include them anyway. Starting off with none other than Angela Bassett. We cannot have a list about live action Storm actresses and not include Angela Bassett. I feel like her acting career and pedigree speak for themselves, and the fact that every Storm fan in existence at some point has said out loud or thought, man, Angela Bassett would make the perfect Storm, basically means I'm obligated to put her on this list. The fact that she was not cast as Storm was criminal, but I'm actually going to take a moment and correct a point I made in one of my previous Storm in live action videos. I speculated about the reason why Halle Berry was cast as Storm over Angela Bassett, chalking it up to Halle being younger by almost 10 years and having more star power attached to her name. I also said Halle was more conventionally attractive than Angela, but I could have phrased that better. Something like Angela Bassett has more prominent facial features. That way no one misunderstands me and thinks I'm calling Angela Bassett ugly or anything like that. But it turns out that wasn't even the case, at least not according to David Hayter, who wrote X-Men and co-wrote X2. According to an interview from David Hayter, Angela Bassett was their first pick, and the only reason she didn't get the role was because her agents asked for too much money. While we're on the topic of legacy picks, I'm also going to highlight two models whose names are often brought up when talking about Storm, Grace Jones and Iman. Particularly Grace Jones, whose appearance was heavily referenced for Storm's design in the 80s. Storm's punk era is essentially Grace Jones with a white mohawk. Now, I'm not that familiar with Grace Jones's acting career. I do love her as Mayday in the James Bond film A View to a Kill, and she definitely has the face and the physique to pull it off. Now, I haven't seen Iman act in anything at all, so I really can't speak to that, but I do know that she's a very attractive, statuesque supermodel, but I really can't speak to her acting ability, so I'm not gonna try. I am including her though, out of respect. And while we're on the topic of honorable mentions who look the part but may not be able to play the part, I'm gonna have to drop two names here that a lot of people may have actually thought, man, they should really play the role. The supermodel Anak Yai, forgive me if I mispronounce that, and pro wrestler Jade Cargill. She's the second black supermodel to open a Prada show. And she dressed up like Storm for a red carpet event, at least that's what it looks like, and damn, she killed it. But to my knowledge, she's not an actress. I don't just want someone who looks the part, they need to be able to play the part as well. For Jade Cargill, she is a pro wrestler, and so she does have some acting experience, but there's no guarantee that that will translate into a silver screen role. But right now, I am going to include her. She looks the part, she really fills out a Storm costume well, and she is very passionate about wanting to play the role. I mean, maybe if there's a fan project out there that wants to cast her as Storm, she may kill it. But now let's move into some of the more serious picks. These next few entries come in no particular order. That won't matter until we get down to the bottom 5. But let's start this list off with Yetide Badaki. She is currently 42 years old, standing at 5 feet 4 inches. She's best known for the role of Bilquis in American Gods. A few years ago, she was often cited as the #1 choice among fans. And honestly, the only reason she's not higher on this list is because she's currently in her 40s. And Storm is usually portrayed as being in her mid-20s to early 30s. She'd make a kick-ass Ashake though. You can definitely see her popping up in Storm's visions, giving her some auntie advice from thousands and thousands of years ago. Up next, we've got Tika Sumpter. She's had a lot of standout roles in the past 6-7 years, maybe even longer, and she definitely nails the look. I mean, you look at her and you instantly know she means business. And judging by the wide range of films on her filmography, it's safe for me to assume that she actually is very talented. You don't get lead roles in movies and TV shows like this by just being any old person. So while I may not personally be super familiar with her work, I think she could likely pull it off. Again though, we're talking about a woman who's a little bit older, so just for the sake of fairness, I'm gonna group her with Miss Badaki. We gotta talk about my girl Yaya DaCosta. She's been in Chicago, Tron Legacy, The Butler, and she's played Whitney Houston. Now, Whitney Houston, being the diva of divas, I think is a role that can easily also translate into Storm. She also has that face that I think is right in peak Storm territory, where her features are very prominent, but they're still very attractive, very feminine, and she gives you that vibe of, you know, a nice pleasant smile 1 minute or a death stare the next. Up next, we have Ayo Edebiri, who's actually more of a comedic talent. She's best known for her roles in Abbott Elementary, as well as her voice acting, including the role of Missy in Big Mouth from season 4 onward, and the voice of April O'Neil in the recent TMNT Mutant Mayhem movie. She expressed interest in playing Storm in the MCU if she had the chance, though she admitted to thinking she wasn't cool enough to play her. And personally, I think it would be hilarious if she ended up getting the role and knocking it out the park. I mean, we've seen a lot of people express interest in this role, and here she is like, nah, I'm not worthy. But imagine if the one who thought she wasn't worthy was the one who got it, and it ended up being the best live action portrayal of Storm we've ever gotten. So if it did happen, I'm here for it. Up next, we've got Lupita Nyong'o. Her breakout role was 12 Years a Slave, and we've seen her in the MCU alongside Angela Bassett in Black Panther and Black Panther Wakanda Forever, playing the spy and love interest to T'Challa, Nakia. She has a great range as an actress and is naturally classy and elegant. She fits into elegant dresses so well, you would think she was born in them. She's another name that you don't hear brought up nearly as much anymore, but similarly to Yetide Badaki, Lupita was brought up a lot back in the day. Like, I'm talking about even 10 years ago and more, I remember people listing her as their #1 pick for Storm. So you know she has to go on the list. Up next, we have Damaris Lewis, who's best known for her role as Blackfire in the live-action Titans show. She was also in Black Klansman and See You Yesterday. I want to focus a bit on her role as Blackfire, which called for a more subdued performance. And even with the changes that show made to Blackfire's character, I think her performance overall was really good. She embodied that sinister maniacalness that Blackfire has, while also making sure that you knew that something was going on underneath the surface. And I think that portrayal reminded me of the stern, stoic side of Storm a lot. I could see her playing that leader side of Storm really well. Then we have Teyana Taylor, and I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I'm not really seeing this one. She's a model who also has acting experience. She's been in Coming to America, 1001, and Medea's Big Happy Family.
Sabrina,
No shade to her, she's a very attractive woman. Her face is really intense, but in a very beautiful way. But I'm not sure if she has the acting chops to pull off Storm. But with that, we are going to start getting into some premium picks for Storm with Michaela Cole. She's known for Chewing Gum, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and I Might Destroy You. Now, Michaela Cole, I feel like, is a really interesting choice here because her facial features are very similar to the Storm that we've gotten as of late in the comics. Anytime she's been drawn by Russell Dauterman or Luciano Vecchio, that Storm looks just like Michaela Cole. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if they used her face as references. Also, we have another actress with a lot of range and is known in part for some of her comedic chops. There's a lot of humor to be brought from the role of Storm. She's not just this super serious, stuffy person. You just kind of have to know what you can use about Storm to make funny, and I could see Michaela doing that. Also, she kicked lots of ass in Wakanda Forever. Up next, we've got Keke Palmer, another actress on the younger side. She's also on the shorter side. We got another 5'6"er, but I'm including all of y'all, so we just gonna talk about it. Now, as an 80s baby and 90s kid, I have been watching Keke Palmer and paying attention to her since the early 2000s. I'm talking about Akilah and the Bee days, Medea's Family Reunion days. But she's also been doing her thing as a leading lady in recent movies like Nope. and she actively wants to be in the MCU. There's even rumors that she's currently in talks with Marvel for a big upcoming MCU role, although we currently don't know what that's gonna be. There are several roles in the MCU that I think she'd do great in, Storm potentially being one of them, and there are even other black X-Men characters who I think she would kill it as, so hopefully we do see her pop up in the MCU soon. Gotta talk about my girl, Janelle Monáe. Now Janelle Monáe, I think of as a singer first, but she also has been doing her thing on the large screen. She was in Harriet, Antebellum, and Hidden Figures. Overall, I feel like her aura is very Storm-esque in that she is extremely comfortable being her own individual self and really doesn't concern herself with the opinions of others who may look at her and judge or disagree with how she lives her life. She's just gonna do what the hell she gonna do. And if you on her page, you are more than free to come along with the ride. But if you're not, you better get the hell out the way. Generally speaking, that's Aurora. Janelle's also known for playing very dramatic roles and standout characters. That height though, oof, she ain't but 5 feet even. It's acting, it's acting, it's acting. You're supposed to be something that you're not. But with that, we are finally gonna get into my top 5. Let's start off with Teyonah Parris. Her name may not be super recognizable, but she's been in a lot of things in the past 10 years and some change. She is currently playing Monica Rambeau, but she's also been in They Clone Tyrone, which is a great film on Netflix that I recommend if you have not seen it. She was in Candyman, and earlier on in her career, she was in movies like Chirac and Dear White People. I think she has the look down pat. She has big expressive eyes, a prominent nose, and full lips. She got that mouth. She gonna yell, and when she yell, you gonna see all her teeth. Also, beautiful, rich, deep brown skin. She not only has the look, but I think she has the range. She has a lot of experience playing superhero roles and active roles. She also is comfortable being a lead lady while being in an ensemble cast. The only reason why she's not closer to my number 1 pick is because she's currently playing Monica Rambeau and the character ain't dead yet. In fact, spoilers for anyone interested in the Marvels who hasn't seen it yet, but at the end of that movie, she did actually go to another universe where she met that universe's X-Men, including Kelsey Grammer's Beast. So what role she's gonna play with the X-Men getting acquainted with the MCU proper cast, I don't know, but she's gonna be in that. But if it weren't for that, she would be way closer to number 1. Moving right along, we got Jodie Turner-Smith. Now, she has been named so many times. She is a lot of people's fan favorite pick. We've seen her in Queen and Slim, which is likely her most famous role, which is another great movie. She's also done Without Remorse and After Yang. There is so much fan art of this woman as Storm, it's not even funny. And at 5'9", she's one of the tallest actresses on this list, so anyone who's looking for an appropriately tall actress, Jodie Turner-Smith might just be your pick. So she got the height, the face, the complexion, the body type. She's walking around peak Storm. I would love to see her play the role. She looks like she could pull off the Weather Witch. Next, we have Kiki Layne, known for The Old Guard, Coming to America, If Beale Street Could Talk, and a shit ton of other movies. This woman has been in so much stuff lately. We'd be here all day naming her breakout roles. She's a name that you'll likely hear more of over the years because she's constantly killing it. And I think in terms of her age, she's one of the best picks on this list. It would be great to have a slightly younger woman who can keep playing the role for several years. I mean, everybody ain't Viola Davis, can't be running around wielding swords and jumping and flipping and shit well into their late 50s. Up next, Anna Diop, whose name I only just now learned how to pronounce correctly. She's known for her role as Starfire in the live-action Titans. She was also in Nanny and 24. Now, I haven't spoken about it at great length. I'm still working on the live-action Starfire video, so I will go into much greater detail there. But I was not a fan of the live-action Titan show. The way they wrote and designed those characters just didn't do justice to the IP of Titans at all. But one thing I think they did right was casting Anna Diop as Starfire. Regardless of how she looked or how she was written on camera, I think her acting ability easily carried that show. So we have an actress who's not only comfortable being a superhero, her main role that she's known for is a superhero. And honestly, go back through the list yourself. There's not a whole lot of actresses who've been on this list who've played such larger than life figures from fantasy or sci-fi. And having that background means basically she's gonna fit into this role well. I think she could easily slide into very Storm-esque mannerisms, and even if they were to go for a more dramatic, like giving the speeches while using the power Storm, my girl Anna, I could see her in the role. But that brings us to our number one pick, and it is a name that if you are familiar with Storm fan castings, you have heard before. Cause damn it, we got to talk about DeWanda Wise. You know I wasn't gonna make a Storm in live action list and not talk about DeWanda Wise. She is currently 39 years old, even though she don't look like she's a day over 30. She's standing at 5'6", but her energy gives her an extra 6 inches, so she may as well be 6 feet tall. She has been in She's Gotta Have It, Jurassic World Dominion, and Underground. She was initially cast to play Maria Rambeau, but she ended up not taking the role for reasons I can't remember. It don't really matter for this list. All you got to know is your girl is the truth. She has it all, in my opinion. The look, the energy, the range, the face. She got them high cheekbones, those piercing eyes. I believe her eyes are actually green. My God, can you imagine her in blue contacts? She'd look straight through you and you would thank her. Now, in terms of her actual acting ability, we know she can handle herself well in action-heavy roles. And she played the role in She's Gotta Have It. Another banger if you haven't seen it. She played the role of Nola there and portrayed a very eclectic, walking to the beat of her own drum, free spirit. And Storm is someone who at her core is a free spirit, but she knows she has to keep that under wraps and keep it in check. But when she has those moments, it is pure Mother Nature personified. Even her voice is peak Storm.
I love the research portion of being an actor. I love ingesting knowledge. So I think overall trying to incorporate or like thread things through the season, I was basically kind of training as a painter for season 1.
And it is glorious!
The only thing DeWanda doesn't have in her corner, in my opinion, is the height. She is standing at 5'6", so she's shorter than what I would prefer for a Storm actress, but everything else across the board is such a W that I don't even think it mattered. She's already 39 years old, so she's a bit on the older side, but she naturally looks so youthful that honestly, she could probably start playing Storm at 45, play her for 10 years, and still look like she's just old enough for the role. Last but not least, she's expressed huge interest in the character. And if Iman Vellani, who plays Miss Marvel, has taught us anything, it's that actors who are enthusiastic about their roles are almost always preferable to actors who just show up for a check. Something we already knew, but that don't mean it ain't true. And take a look at some of this fan art. People have been going crazy with these Storm live action designs, and they're letting their creativity fly when it comes to designing how they think DeWanda Wise would look as Storm. There are multiple ladies on this list who I think would make a great Storm, but DeWanda Wise is my number one choice for Storm. And she's who I'm gonna have in mind in my next Storm in live action video. Because now that we've talked about what Storm needs to look like and how she needs to be written in live action, and now that we have our number one pick for Storm in live action, we gotta write Storm in live action. I already told y'all I don't trust the MCU with Storm. So I'm gonna give you guys my idea of what a Storm-centered X-Men trilogy would look like. It's gonna start with the trilogy, and then it's gonna veer off into a solo series. And obviously, this is all just for fun. This is just me as a uber Storm fan using my writing talents to show off what I think a good Storm live action depiction would be. But until then, let's go down in the comment section and have us a conversation. And after that, make sure you click this video right here to get you some more Weather Witch goddessness in your life. And until next time, keep simping.